Ichigo starts training with Captain Ichibe Hyasube of Squad 0. At the same time, Yhwach gathers the Quincy army and selects Uryuu as his successor, causing tension among the Sternritters who thought Hashwolf deserved it more. Sternritter Askenak Lavar steps in to calm things down, especially between Bazby and Hashwolf. In Hukomundo, Orihime and Chad also begin their training. Meanwhile, Kisuke is busy researching the Quincy medallion. Hyasube guides Ichigo to a special place in the royal palace, only accessible with permission from the Soul King, to make him stronger. Head Captain Kaioraku provides Ichigo's human friends with a soul ticket to Soul Society, just in case Ichigo's spiritual power becomes too much for the human world. Meanwhile, Rukia and Renji continue their training in the royal palace, while Byakuya recovers with Korinji's assistance. Suddenly, a dark dome envelops the Serete, and the Quincy army emerges. Yhwach declares his intent to reclaim the world in the next 9 days, following the Quincy song, the Kaiser Jesang. The Wandenreich launches their second invasion on the Serete. Hashwolf commands the Stern Ritters who stole Bankais to defeat the captains from whom they took them. Askenak Lavar shows up in the 12th Squad's barracks and reveals that the Wandenreich, their hideout, was formed using Quincy powers and concealed within the shadows of the Serete, where they observed and learned about everything and everyone. Captain Kuratsuchi and Lieutenant Nemu emerge from Kuratsuchi's secret lab, cleverly hidden in plain sight, where he developed countermeasures against the Quincy's transportation techniques. Annoyed by Mayuri's eccentricity and determination, Nak Lavar departs. Hashwolf personally confronts Kaioraku and his lieutenant Nano Eyes. Nano has prepared a powerful Kaido spell to hold off the Stern Ritter. The Serete streets become battlegrounds as Soul Reapers and Soldats clash. Captain Hitsugaya and Lieutenant Matsumoto from Squad 10 face Stern Ritter H. Bazby. Meanwhile, Squad 2's Lieutenant Amida tries to protect his sister from Stern Ritter KBG-9, but Captain Soifon arrives to defend them. Hitsugaya and Matsumoto use cunning tactics, like combining their abilities, to try to stop Bazby, but they struggle against his powers. Bazby easily defeats Hitsugaya, but Stern Ritter Ikangdu intervenes, ready to eliminate him with his own Bankai. BG-9 inflicts severe injuries on Soifon. Suddenly, Kisuke contacts Mayuri and unveils a plan to recover the stolen Bankais. Kangdu incapacitates Matsumoto and tries to finish off Hitsugaya with his Bankai. Bazby leaves. Kisuke arrives at the 12th Squad barracks and introduces the Shineyaku, a black pill that hollows Bankais, making them lethal to Quincy's. Hitsugaya uses it, regains his hollowed Bankai, defeats Kangdu, and collapses. Soifon receives the pill from Amida, repels BG-9 with her restored Bankai. Elsewhere, dozens of soldats surround Squad 5 Captain Shinji Hirako after decimating his squad. This gives Hirako the chance to finally unleash his Bankai, Sakashima Yakushima Happo Fusagari. It alters the reality of allies and enemies, forcing the soldats to turn on each other. Accompanied by 11th Squad 5th Seat Iasugawa, 9th Squad Lieutenant Hisagi, and 11th Squad 3rd Seat Madaram, they consume a Shineyaku. Stern Ritter S, masked a masculine, crashes down on them, seeking glory. He easily counters and defeats them. Stern Ritter E, Bambietta Basterbine, leads her Stern Ritter squadron in search of 7th Squad Captain Sajin Kamamura. She explodes the area as Kamamura arrives, seeking vengeance against Yhwach for Yamamoto. Hirako disorients and toys with Bambietta, and they activate Volstandig. Meanwhile, in the Soul Palace, Ichigo continues to tread the dark corridor, experiencing immense pain, overwhelming spiritual pressure, and visions of the Soul King submerged in Raizhi. The images reveal the Soul King clearly. Bambietta uses her Volstandig to attack Hirako, but Kamamura and Momo step in. Momo takes Hirako away while Kamamura shields them. Bambietta's power makes things touched by her Raizhi explode. She reveals Kamamura's human form by removing his helmet. Kamamura reveals that he obtained his clan's secret humanization technique by sacrificing his own heart to the clan elder, becoming virtually immortal. He uses his invulnerable Bankai to defeat Bambietta, but his heart fails, transforming him into a non-human wolf. His lieutenant, Tetsuzima Iba, carries him away. The dying Bambietta is attended to by her squad, while the defeated Kangdu and BG-9 are collected by Uryuu. Hashwolf returns to Yhwach's side. Mask defeats his opponents with help from his fan, James, but before he can finish them off, he's halted by the arrival of 9th Squad Captain Kensei Mugeruma and 3rd Squad Captain Reijiro Rose Otorabashi. Meanwhile, Hyasube informs Ichigo that he's experiencing the Soul Society's pass through the Soul King's powers. Ichigo successfully absorbs the power and proceeds to Senjumaru Shutara's palace. Kyoraku orders the Soul Reapers to regroup safely with Mayuri's coordination. Kensei uses his Bankai, Tekken Takakaze, to face Mask. Though he briefly triumphs, Mask, fueled by James' cheers, overwhelms and severely injures Kensei. Isagi warns them about James' role, and Rose steps in, cutting the fan in half. Rose activates his Bankai, Kinshara Budodan. Mask confronts a barrage of fire and water attacks from Rose's Bankai, but realizes something's amiss. Rose reveals his Bankai's illusion-based power induced by sound. Mask decides to burst his eardrums, creating a star-shaped hole through Rose. Before Mask can finish off the captains, Renji intervenes and easily blocks his attack. Rukia arrives, both having grown stronger from Squad Zero training. Rukia takes the injured captains to safety while Renji stands strong against Mask. Mask activates his Volstandig and launches a powerful Raizhi attack, accidentally incinerating James. Renji, wielding his complete Bankai, Soo Zabumaru, counters with a new technique, Soo Zabumaru, Zaga Teppo, defeating Mask without James cheering. Yhwach absorbs the remaining Raizhi particles of M before revealing Jugram Hashwolf. Uryuu questions his presence, and Hashwolf explains their connection as Quincy's. Hashwolf, recognizing Uryuu as the successor, unveils the true nature of Yhwach's powers and their origin. Having completed his training with all of Squad Zero, Ichigo begins his descent toward the Serete and informs Kisuke of his arrival. Meanwhile, Hashwolf leads Uryuu to the defeated BG9 and Kangdu for their judgment. A giant scale appears behind Hashwolf, and the two defeated Stern Ritters lose their lives and powers. Hashwolf reveals that those who receive a portion of Yhwach's soul have their powers, knowledge, and skills absorbed by Yhwach upon their death. It's a grim fate for those who serve under him. As Rukia searches the Serete, she encounters Stern Ritter F as Not, who is seeking Byakuya's Senbon Zakura. Rukia, now much stronger and aware of her Zanpakuto's true ability to freeze anything she touches to absolute zero, freezes as Not. As Not responds by activating his Volstandig, which spreads fear upon the sight of his grotesque appearance. When Rukia momentarily succumbs to fear and is trapped, Byakuya steps in to acknowledge her growth. As Not taunts Byakuya, but Byakuya allows Rukia to stand on her own. She then unleashes her formidable Bankai, Haka no Togame, which freezes as Not to death instantly. Byakuya supports Rukia and advises her to train with her Bankai to avoid accidentally harming herself. While attending to the injured Rose and Kensei, Kotsu and 11th Squad Lieutenant Yakairu Kusajishi are attacked by a Stern Ritter. Stern Ritter V. Gweneo Lee explains his ability to remove himself from opponents' senses and reality. Yakairu instinctively attacks him as he re-emerges, annoying him. The real Stern Ritter V. Gremi Thumo appears and clarifies his power to make imagination reality. He incapacitates Yakairu by envisioning her bones as cookies. Suddenly, Kenpachi bursts onto the scene and informs Kotsu of Unohana's death. Considering himself the strongest Stern Ritter, Gremi immediately challenges Kenpachi. He attempts to imagine Kenpachi drowning in a pool of water, but Kenpachi breaks free and slashes him. Gremi then envisions various guns and missiles and creates another body for himself, doubling his power of imagination. With this enhanced ability, he envisions a meteor crashing down on the Serete, causing alarm among both Soul Reapers and Quincy's. Kenpachi, having learned his Zanpakuto's name, Nazarashi, decides to unleash his Shikai, resembling an oversized meat cleaver, and uses it to obliterate the meteor. Gremi multiplies himself into over a dozen figures and, with their combined powers, imagines Kenpachi in outer space. Despite suffering significant injuries, Kenpachi breaks through the imaginary space and slashes Gremi. Frustrated, Gremi tries to match Kenpachi's strength but ends up destroying himself, revealing his true brain-like form as he dies. Despite severe injuries, Kenpachi desperately searches for Yakairu, who has disappeared. Suddenly, Bambietta's squad ambushes him. Initially resisting, Kenpachi is overwhelmed by their combined strength. Out of nowhere, Ichigo crashes down, creating a hole to the Soul Palace, effortlessly tossing the 4 Stern Ritters away from Kenpachi. Everyone, Soul Reapers and Stern Ritters alike, is shocked by his entrance. Fueled by anger at Ichigo's status as a special war power alongside Kenpachi, the 4 Stern Ritters activate their Volstandig to confront Ichigo but fail to land a blow. Ichigo combines 2 Getsuga Tensho into a Getsuga Jujisho, severing Candace's arm. Giselle uses dead Soul Reaper tissue to regenerate her arm. As they regroup, Basby intervenes with Burner Finger 1, shooting them down. 3 more Stern Ritters arrive, surrounding Ichigo 8-1. Attempting to escape to Yhwach, Ichigo is blocked by Renji, Rukia, Byakuya, Hisagi, Yumachika, and Madaram. They hold off the Stern Ritters, allowing Ichigo to continue his ascent. Uryuu suddenly appears and fires at Ichigo, revealing his allegiance to the enemy, while Chad and Orihime arrive from Hukomundo to block his attack. Meanwhile, Yhwach ascends with Hashwalth and Uryuu. Yhwach's ascent to the Soul Palace creates a powerful force, causing widespread destruction and drawing concerns from Kaioraku about Hyasube's actions. Meanwhile, Orihime and Chad express disapproval of Ichigo's actions, while Kisuke leads them to the 12th Division barracks. Mayuri has prepared a one-use replica of the Shiba clan's cannon to send Ichigo's group back to the palace, powered by Rise he collected by Yoruichi Shihoin, and the Vizard from distortions created by the Quincy's. Byakuya finds himself surrounded by Quincy's, including Candace and 2 others, while Basby provokes Renji and Rukia as they emerge from the rubble. Iba breaks free from the debris, having protected the transformed Kamamura. Giselle attempts to provoke Ikaku and Yumachika into attacking, hoping to control them. When Yumachika reveals Giselle's true gender as male, Giselle becomes enraged and summons the semi-conscious undead Bambietta. Giselle explains his ability to zombify and control Soul Reapers with a touch of his blood. However, a Quincy must be dead for him to control them, so he personally executed Bambietta. Ikaku and Yumachika are on the verge of being zombified when Mayuri and Nemu intervene. Mayuri, armed with a device to counteract Bambietta's ability, nullifies her as a pawn. Giselle summons an army of zombified Soul Reapers, primarily from Squad 11. Mayuri reveals his own pawns, resurrected Arrancars including Luppy, Dordoni, Saruchi, and Charlotte. The resurrected Arrancars easily dispatch Giselle's zombies, prompting her to summon the zombified Hitsugaya. Zombified Hitsugaya proves formidable as he effortlessly defeats Ikaku, Yumachika, and Charlotte. However, Mayuri steps in and administers various drugs to Hitsugaya, slowly awakening his brain and taking control over the zombie. Giselle summons her remaining zombies, Kensei, Rose, and Matsumoto. Saruchi, Luppy, and Dordoni even the odds, allowing Mayuri to use his drugs to gain control over them, wresting control from Giselle, who is impaled by one of her own zombies. Meanwhile, Byakuya utilizes his Bankai to defeat Candace, Stern Ritter and Robert Akutron, and Nana. Meninas and Liltado watch from a distance. Shuhei joins forces with Byakuya but then attempts to attack him. Stern Ritter El Pepe Wakabrata, who can use his Rise to make nearly anything with a soul fall in love with him, takes control of Shuhei and subsequently dominates Meninas to knock Liltado away, removing competition. When Pepe extends his ability to Senbon Zakura, Byakuya's Zanpakuto turns against him, and Shuhei wields it. Cornered, Byakuya receives reinforcement from Mayuri and the zombified Soul Reapers. Kensei employs his Bankai to dispatch Pepe, incapacitating his own lieutenant in the process. Pepe, after waking amidst the debris, tries to plead with the approaching Liltado for mercy, but she consumes him in revenge for his betrayal. Yhwach, Hashwolf, and Uryuu arrive at the Soul Palace. In ancient times, Hyasube and a young Yhwach negotiated a non-aggression treaty involving the Quincy's. Yhwach, however, saw through the Soul Reapers' actions, questioning their enslavement of the godly Soul King and the separation of realms. To appease Yhwach, Hyasube offered the Soul King's left arm, but Yhwach chose to erase both the world and his father. In the present, Shutara and her holy soldiers confront Yhwach, Hashwolf, and Uryuu. The Soldatans summoned by Hashwolf are defeated by the holy soldiers. Yhwach summons Stern Ritter W9 Weasel from his shadow, who is immobilized and eliminated by Shutara. Kisuke activates the cannon to transport Ichigo, Orihime, Chad, Yoruichi, and Ganju Shiba to the royal palace. Yhwach summons the Schutzstaffel, Stern Ritter Elite Guard, including Lil Baro, Gerard Valkyrie, Pernita Parnches, and the newly promoted Askin Nak Lavar. Baro shoots Shutara but fails to destroy the Squad 0 members' personal palaces. They are trapped in a fake soul palace created by Hikafune. Hikafune, Korinji, and Nimea arrive. Nimea showcases Seifushi, an incredibly sharp Zanpakuto. The Shutstaffel attack Nimue together, but he easily defeats them. Yhwach escapes the trap to ascend to Hyasube's palace. At the ruins of Squad 12 barracks, Kisuke gathers the remaining Viscert along with Yushiro Shihoin, Uryuu's brother and clan head. Their mission is to head to the royal palace. In the rubble, the wounded Giselle attempts to heal by sucking blood from zombified Bambietta. Lotado joins her, while Meninas and Candice recover. Hyasube engages Yhwach in an aerial battle, using a Zanpakuto that cuts names and halves power. He manages to cut Yhwach, weakening him. Korinji activates his Shikai and defeats Hashwolf. Uryuu battles Shutara but is overpowered. Nimue faces Askin, who possesses a near-immortal ability. Askin tries to poison Nimue with his blood but is interrupted by Korinji, who uses hot springs to replenish Nimue's poisoned blood. Nimue kills Askin. Yhwach activates Oswa Allen, stripping Raizhi and Shrift abilities from the remaining Soldaten and Stern Ritters in the Serete, including Bambietta and Bazbi, redistributing the power to resurrect Hashwolf and the Shutstaffel. They activate their Volstandig. In the Serete's ruins, Kyoraku leaves his post and joins 13th Squad Captain Jishiro Yukitake, who used Kamikake to combat his illness, preparing for the battle at the Soul Palace. Lil Baro opens fire on Nimue, using his Shrift X to shoot anything within his perceived target range. The power-up from Oswa Allen enables this ability. Hikifune and Korinji's attempts to shield Nimue fail, and Shutara carries the injured Nimue away to heal him. The battles become 1v1 matchups as Hikifune overgrows the cage. Shutara immobilizes Gerard with her sewing needle, while Hikifune attempts to bury Pernida under her Raizhi seeds. Askin employs a hit-and-run tactic against Korinji. Nimue evades Baro's attacks before slashing him by standing on his barrel. Hyasube uses Hado and various attacks to close in on Yhwach and activates his Shikai, which splashes black ink. Anything touched by the ink loses its name and, consequently, its power. Gerard breaks free and pummels Shutara. Pernida gravely injures Hikifune, and Askin shoots Korinji. Nimue tries to approach Baro head-on by targeting Yhwach, but Baro shoots through Nimue since his ability is limited to his chosen target range. Yhwach absorbs Hyasube's ink ability and turns it against him. Despite the Shutstaffel's taunts, Squad 0 rises again. Nimue explains that they've sealed their true Zanpakuto to prevent catastrophic destruction. They connect their lives and release the seal through collective suicide. Shutara takes on the Quincy's and activates her Bankai, Shitatsu Karagara Shigarama Natsuji, trapping them in a manipulatable void dimension. In her Bankai dimension, Shutara weaves her cloth to create specific methods with which she kills the Shutstaffel, Hashwolf, and Uryuu. Hyasube reveals his Shinachi, a precursor to Bankai's, renaming Yhwach as a black ant using Shurafude Ikamonji. He crushes Yhwach underfoot and hurls him off the Soul Palace.